Good morning, everyone, and welcome to everybody who's with us new and those who are returning. Hope to see more and more people returning every Sunday. When you open a Bible, you will find that each passage has a title in bold that summarizes the main point of each section. For example, there are titles like the healing of many people or the feeding of the 4,000. And although these titles are helpful, they can only give us one very limited aspect of the passage that we are about to read. For example, the title of today's gospel passage in the Revised Standard Version is plainly the Canaanite woman. But a little more nuance in the New American Bible titles this section, The Canaanite Woman's Faith. Since these titles are not written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but added by translators and publishers to help guide our reading, we should feel at ease to add to them or change them if this modification helps us better understand the many elements often present in a passage. So although the title of today's gospel is The Canaanite Woman's Faith, there are actually quite a few other important aspects of this story. In this passage, Jesus goes to the region of Tyre and Sidon, which is today southern Lebanon. Therefore, we can also call this passage, Jesus goes for a walk in Lebanon. But Jesus did not just go for a walk, he healed somebody while there. Therefore, perhaps we might want to add, Jesus heals a Canaanite woman's daughter while going for a walk. But there is more to this passage than just this. Unlike other passages in the Gospels, here Jesus first seems to ignore to heal the girl. It is only when her mother shows both persistence and also great intelligence that Jesus responds, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." Then Matthew tells us immediately that her daughter was at once healed, instantly healed. I love this gospel not only because it takes place in southern Lebanon, where my family comes from, but also because it shows how smart Lebanese and other Middle Eastern women are. Although the apostles told Jesus, "Send her away," she was able to convince Jesus to listen to her. Since she outsmarted the apostles, another title we can give this passage is the Lebanese woman who was smarter than all the apostles. Since all these titles highlight the many aspects of this gospel passage, let's look a little closer at the details. Jesus walks into a foreign region, and while alone, a Canaanite woman approaches him. Now, in Jesus' culture, the culture of the apostles, and in fact, if you look at across history, every culture has always had suspicion of outsiders, those who are not of their own. And this was no different. There have always been tensions, both between groups within a culture, but especially of different ethnic groups that surround a particular culture. So in this case, she was actually a double outsider. First, she was not Jewish. Therefore, she was a foreigner. And second, she was a woman. And at that time, these were two very good reasons for Jesus and the apostles to not speak with her or to not even interact with her. So when the apostles come and see a Canaanite woman speaking to Jesus, they want Jesus to ask her to leave, and Jesus responds in a way that seems rude at first. This is sometimes a controversial passage because people read it too quickly and miss the important nuances and the various layers that are present in this gospel. Before they came, Jesus was actually patiently listening to her and had not yet responded to her request to heal her daughter. He was listening. Jesus only says what seems to be rude when the apostles become annoyed at the woman's presence and ask Jesus to dismiss her. In the presence of the apostles, Jesus tells her it is not fair to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. This is not what Jesus believed of her, but how the Jewish culture of the apostles would have seen outsiders like the Canaanite woman. This is a very important distinction. Today, in our own culture, some people have dogs. And some people consider their dogs to be their best friends. But in biblical times, this was definitely not the case. It was a total insult to associate someone with a dog or to compare someone to a dog. In some countries, that's still the case. In the famous story of David and Goliath, we read in 1 Samuel 17, while the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and comely in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. We also see that in Psalm 22:16, enemies were called dogs. Yea, dogs are around me. A company of evildoers encircle me. They have pierced my hands and feet. Also in Proverbs 26:11, a foolish person is compared to a dog. Like a dog that returns to his vomit is a fool that repeats his folly. The Canaanite woman knew that since she was both a Canaanite and a woman, she would have been considered an outsider and looked down upon as a dog. However, the Canaanite woman went beyond this category and expectation and demanded mercy when she said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." The Canaanite woman tells Jesus and the apostles that even a culture that hates dogs would have at least fed them. She publicly shows how smart and persistent she is, and then Jesus publicly tells her, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as your desire." Initially, it seems that Jesus is insulting the woman. However, when we look at the details of this gospel, we realize that Jesus was listening to the woman before the apostles arrived and only repeated the cultural disdain for outsiders when the apostles came and asked Jesus to dismiss her. In this case, Jesus is not rude to the woman, but wants the apostles and actually everyone else to hear publicly how ridiculous it is to ignore those who are not in our social or cultural group. She was a Canaanite woman, an outsider as a Canaanite, and a double outsider as a Canaanite woman. And this important exchange enables the woman as a double outsider to publicly proclaim her faith in Jesus and to affirm how Jesus gives voice to the voiceless and invites all people of all nations to have faith in him. He says this at the end of the Gospel of St. Matthew, "Go out into all the nations and proclaim the good news." However, during his life, he also prepared for that final proclamation and showed that he not only told his disciples to do that after he died and rose from the dead, but that in looking back at his life, he was doing this all along. This gospel passage has so many aspects and can be given different titles. Perhaps you want to add an element to it yourselves. At the end, though, Jesus tells the woman, "O woman, great is your faith, be it done for you as you desire." Yes, this highlights the woman's faith and perseverance, but it also invites us to move beyond categories that we place on others, and, more importantly, to move beyond categories that we put ourselves into. The Canaanite woman outsmarted the apostles and the culture that told her she was not worthy of Jesus' healing. Are we, after reflecting on this gospel and on the life of Jesus, are we able to outsmart systems that keep us quiet and are we able to overcome our own perceptions that make us hesitant or fearful to approach God and welcome His love, His mercy, and His healing? That answer is perhaps your reflection for today.